tell me a little bit about that card?
Yeah, these are the names of people, and we just went ahead and put the amounts that they gave us over that very difficult time in our lives. And we have some on the back even. But the thing that really amazes me and just really hit my heart is, of course, some of them are for 1,000, maybe a little bit more. They always came at a time when we needed it, but probably just as special and important was this $20 that was given to us. It was a chili certificate by a young couple. I think of God, because I think this is all God working through those people. Our two boys actually were still in middle school, and then in 1986, I made a decision to move from Houston to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I joined Bright Bank, which was a large savings and loan institution in Dallas, and again as executive vice president. We built a very large house. We had a swimming pool. It was a beautiful house. We had anything that maybe we wanted or felt like we needed. We were able to go out and buy it. We bought a brand new Lexus. I was the type individual that the more money I made, the more I felt like I needed to spend. And we were living a great life. We bought a lake house up on Lake LBJ in Sunrise Beach. We had all the little toys that go with the lake house, including a Cobalt boat, which was, in many ways, I often looked at that as being maybe my God. Although everything was really going good at that time, the real estate market, in addition to the banking industry, collapsed. And as a result, I lost my job. I went home, and I guess for a couple of weeks, I thought, well, this would be a nice little vacation. And I'm sure that once word gets out that Ken Pulley is no longer employed at Bright Bank, that the phone would ring. And there would be just people dying or wanting to talk to me about going to work for them. That didn't happen. We realized it was time to sell what we had. If it had any value, we had to sell it. So we began with our lake house, and we sold it. We sold that boat that I said would be the last thing I would ever want to sell. We sold our cars. We moved over a period of 1 year to 4 different houses because we were in a program that allowed people to move into a home that was for sale, usually owned by a corporation.
We didn't have a place to live, and we didn't know what we were going to do. And somebody, a realtor friend, had a house on the market that they were going to sell. And so we went over there and looked at it, and it was rat infested. There were wine bottles all over the house. I mean, it was horrible. It was so bad. And it was a Sunday morning, and about 12 o'clock, right after church, the doorbell rang, and some people came, and they had vacuum cleaners and cleaning supplies. Somebody brought food for all of us, and they helped us clean up that house so we could live there. And we lived there for 3 months, and it sold, and we had to get out and move again. But we were never without a place to live. We didn't have to live in our car. We didn't have to live on the street. There was always a place for us to go. God provided that for us.
I personally had lost not only everything I'd accumulated, but I lost my self-esteem. And even though as a banker, I had walked around with somebody written across my forehead, I had now reached a point in my life that really that was erased, and I had nobody across my forehead. And I didn't know what to do.
I would come home from work, or we would come home from somewhere, and there would be boxes of groceries out on the back porch. And it was hard for him to accept that, to be able to take, or somebody would put a check in the mail to us. Somebody gave him a check to buy a new suit for one of his new jobs. And that was a wonderful thing. It was God providing, but it was hard for him to accept that.
When that happens, you think, Ken, daddy, husband, you're not providing. But as several people would tell me, Ken, if you don't accept what God is telling us to give you, you're robbing us of the joy that he brings to us. And so that was a big lesson to learn there, in the fact that when we give to someone else, what they're lacking is that, yes, sometimes they feel inadequate and they feel it's difficult to accept. But it's also, if they accept it, it brings you a great amount of joy, and that's how he wants to work. I think the hardest time for us to believe that God was with us was probably during that 2-year period of time when I was unemployed. We had, for the most part, no income that was coming into us. And I can remember several times on a Friday where the cupboard was empty, and literally we probably had less than $10 in our checking account. And I would say, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how God or anyone is going to be able to come through and help us out. But he always did. He always provided. He always will. He never gave us more than what we needed, but he never gave us less than what we needed. And that in itself was such a lesson. I think, why did God care that much about us, and especially because of the early life that I lived? Well, I know it's because that's how great his grace is. And for that reason, I'm thankful for God. I'm thankful for what Jesus did in dying on that cross for us.